Good afternoon. I'll call to order this meeting of the Lincoln City Council. A copy of the Open Meetings Act is located in the rear of council chambers by the northwest door by which you entered. The meeting today is part of the ongoing development of the 2024-2025 city budget. The mayor submitted a proposed budget to the council on June 10th. City departments provided further details and information at two council meetings held on June 11th and 12th. By council resolution, council members were to submit initial tentative changes to the city budget to the budget office by 3 o'clock on Friday, July 12th. 5 tentative changes were proposed. Those were delivered by the budget office to all council members as well as posted online. On Monday, July 15th, council met to discuss 4 of the proposed changes. 1 proposed change was withdrawn. Today, we will vote on whether to move any of the tentative changes forward for inclusion in the budget. The public hearing notice for that budget will be August 5th at 3 p.m. Following the budget public hearing, council members will have a second opportunity to introduce budget changes by submitting them to the budget office by Friday, August 9th, again at 3 p.m. The order of business today is as follows. Proposed changes will be voted on in order 1 through 4. Council members will have an opportunity to ask a clarifying question of the proposer or of staff, and then we will take the votes. With that, I will first look to our budget officer, Sherry Wolf, and ask her for any additional direction.
Good afternoon, Sherry Wolf, City Budget Officer. I think you have covered all of it. Ben's going to be taking minutes over here. When you have finished your discussion, I'll be ready to call the vote.
All right. Thank you very much. All righty. And with that, submittal number 1 by myself, Councilmember Washington, was to appropriate $50,000 in one-time funding from general fund reserves to help fund the Community Forestry Master Plan. Are there any questions, clarifying questions from any of my council members?
I support it, so that's an easy one.
Okay. No questions.
All right. So do we have an official motion?
Am I, city attorney, am I allowed to motion my own proposal as chair, or do I need someone else to make the motion?
I think it's probably cleaner to have someone else make the motion.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr.
Oh,
Duden.
did you?
And before the motion, sir?
So we, just for clarification, we're going to motion each one individually,
Yes.
rather than go through all of them and come back and make motions on each one. Normally in our agenda, we read everything, and then we come back and vote on everything. We're doing it differently for this.
I mean, I think you have either option. It seems like we are doing it differently for this. We've started.
Is that,
That's okay.
That's acceptable to me. I just want to make sure I
Yes.
understood what was going on.
okay.
Thank you.
And I
Thank
think
you.
I think that's how we did it last
All
time
right.
as well.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Duden?
Do your motion again.
I'll make a motion that we accept the proposal, number 1, submitted by Chairman Washington for the $50,000 one-time funding from the general fund reserves to help the community forestry master plan.
I will second.
A lot of
Second,
words.
Carlson.
A lot of words.
Is there any further discussion? I guess we
Yeah,
got past
any other
that.
discussion? Very good.
All right, so I'm going to call. I got to get rid of the people who aren't here. Carlson.
Yes.
Yes.
Job.
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
All right, motion carries 4-0.
All right. The second proposal, also submitted by myself, Councilmember Washington, for the fiscal year 2024 and 2025, appropriate $250,000 in one-time funding from general fund reserves to help fund an updated tree inventory and assessment. Is there any discussion, any clarifying questions?
I thought the other day this was 300,000, now it's 250,000. Was it lowered?
No, it is the same
Same
amount.
amount,
I asked
same.
for 250,000, knowing that the entire project may run up to $1 million, but using this as a challenge amount that we can use against other grants with a couple of other organizations that are holding monies.
Another good idea.
Okay. Any other questions to clarify?
Seeing none, I'll just go ahead and make a motion to submit the proposal by Councilmember Washington for fiscal year 2024-25, appropriate $250,000 one-time funding from general fund reserves to help fund an updated tree inventory.
Thank you.
I will second that motion.
Second, Shob. Any other discussion?
Carlson?
Yes.
Yes?
Schob?
Yes.
And Washington?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Proposal number 3, submitted by Councilmember Duden, is to move $100,000 for fiscal year 2024 and 2025 from City Council reappropriations to Lincoln Police Department training budget. Are there any clarifying questions of staff or of Councilman Duden?
I just know that the proposed 60,000, if you look at 375 officers with the Lincoln Police Department thereabouts, and not including the non-uniform staff there, 60,000 is just a really low number per employee for training purposes. And I think with all the advancements in technology, drones, the helicopter use, and things that are happening within society as well. We lost an officer a couple of years ago, and I think some advanced training and in-service training needs to be beefed up a little bit to make it us a more safe society here in Lincoln.
Are there any clarifying questions of the proposal? Councilman Shob.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you all know, I can't read a calendar, and I was not able to make it on Monday to listen to the presentations. I did hear some hearsay about whether the money would be used this cycle or not. Mr. Duden, can you help enlighten me on that? We have had a small conversation, just for the record.
Will it be used?
Yeah. there was-
I briefly mentioned to the chief that I was going to do this, and she basically stated that they could always use the funding for training.
Enough said.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Duden. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right.
And I apologize for not being here on Monday.
that's all right.
I wanted to, at least for the record, note that Councilman Brody Weber had set a set of questions to AC Dale, asking how the funds would be spent or how they'd be utilized, and I followed up with a couple of questions asking similar questions about how it would be utilized. So we've had a conversation about this as well.
I do have some concerns about the reappropriation, but I think we have some time to talk about those over the next few days, and I look forward to healthy conversations about that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Right. Well, seeing no other questions, is there a motion?
On you.
I can make a motion on my own?
You may.
Okay, very good. I would make a motion to move $100,000 from the City Council reappropriations to the Lincoln Police Department's training budget.
Madam Chair, I'd like to second that motion.
Shob, second. Discussion. I would like to go on the record as saying that I am completely in support of the Lincoln Police Department, and I understand the need for training. I understand how it improves, the effectiveness of our officers and the professional staff of LPD. I was a little concerned that the proposal came forward without there being a real plan for how the $100,000 would be spent, because I think that's a large number, and I believe I would have made a slightly amended motion, or I would have asked that we had a plan beforehand. Because we still have another opportunity to bring this proposal forward in an amended state, I would ask that we get a little bit more of a plan for how the 100,000 is spent. And I'd also ask that we take a real look at where we could take the funds from besides from council reappropriations. I am supportive of doing that work with you, Councilman Duden.
Very good.
And for that reason, I am going to vote no and hope that we can spend some time talking with each other and the police department and coming up with a plan.
Enjoy working on that with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion or comments?
Yeah, I'd echo. I'm of a similar line of thinking too. I would like to see some more details. $100,000 is a lot of money, and especially this wasn't initially generated from Lincoln Police Department too. That it seems like a little bit just throwing a dart to try to come up with an amount. I would like to see some more specifics for how it would be spent and to really look for the outcomes for what that training would bring us. If it improves retention of our officers or safety of our officers, and we can see some clear outcomes, I'm certainly supportive of that. And just I think we need to drill down a little bit deeper on this one too. So I'll be joining Councilwoman Washington in voting no at this time. But again, this is not a no never. It's a no. Let's work on it and come up with some more details.
All right.
All right, seeing no more discussion.
Carlson,
No.
Duden,
Yes.
Job,
Yes.
Washington.
No.
Motion fails 2-2.
All right, but it is a promise to work. All right. Number three, proposal number three submitted by Councilmember Duden is to designate $50,000 in funding from fiscal year 2024-25 CIP project, the park acquisition, demolition, and development portion of that, to support the development and implementation of a ball field improvement plan, to work with the Parks and Recreation Foundation to identify a grant or donation or corporate sponsorship to match the amount designated in the Park and Recreation CIP project. This plan would help efficiently and effectively direct additional funding for ball field improvements. Are there any clarifying questions for Councilman Duden? I'd like to ask a question. I know in the last couple of days we've had a lot more information provided to us from Director Maggie Stuckey Ross, and I am curious, Mr. Duden, are you directing that this $50,000 moved from the CIP needs to be matched by the Parks Foundation in order to be spent? Is this a challenge to get a match today?
I think that's what the motion states, is that it's to identify a grant, donation, or corporate sponsorship to match the amount designated by the Parks Recreation CIP project. I think there's a real need here. Yes, some of this was brought to light. I'd had heard rumors about deficiencies when it came to the lack of baseball diamonds and families having to travel to Iowa to play Nebraska baseball. And I went and walked several of the parks, ballparks, and noticed numerous deficiencies, some that you can tell have just happened over time. And I think we've kind of fallen away from the standards on what makes a baseball field a baseball field. And I think there are some things that are safety hazards for youth playing baseball. I just think Lincoln deserves to do better for its citizens when it pertains to this. Baseball is an activity that's enjoyed by everyone in society. You can either walk to a game, plop your lawn chair down and watch it. You get to meet other people in your neighborhood or from the school that your kids go to. It involves grandparents, brothers and sisters. I can't think of a better social location. And I've seen the same thing at high school football. Seacrest Field, where you see families out there, generations watching their grandson or son play in that sport. And I remember my youth baseball. starting from the age of 5 when I used to play on the Nebraska State Patrol's ball diamond, which no longer exists there anymore, but when I lived at 17th and Burnham. But I grew up in this town, and I've made lifelong friends in baseball and played against some really superior athletes, the Dan Krogers, the Novaks, the Steve McManamans that played baseball here in Lincoln. And I think we've fallen away from that. And you know what, I think COVID actually reinforced that sport, because it was an outdoor sport that everybody could enjoy, and we could still do that. So I would just like us to see us get back to that just a little bit. Heard from the community that they're worried about their kids playing on Lincoln ball diamonds, and I've heard from some constituents that said people from out of town don't want to come to Lincoln. So I just think that there's some area for improvements, and I know we have a lot of fields, but I think there's an indication that we need more. Dale Jensen donated land to the city of Lincoln for the purpose of developing a baseball park, and I don't know what happened to it, because that proposal was made back in 2018. So I'd just like to see us get back to that, and I think a study by Parks and Rec. I'm an old Parks and Rec employee, so I remember mowing those ball diamonds and what have you. So I just would think that that would be a good amount, seed money, to get a study going, to get some corporations maybe to the table, find out who's better apt at running the maintenance for these parks, whether it's teams or corporations, or if it's the city of Lincoln. But I think we need to do what's best for our youth and for the community. So that's where this starts.
Councilman Shob, I'm going to come to you in just a moment.
I
Mr.
understand.
Duden, I want to ask the question again, because I totally understand what you're saying and
Yeah.
about the premise for why you did this, but I'm trying to understand if the $50,000 needs to be matched by the Park and Recreation Foundation immediately in order to begin the ball fields improvement plan, or are you asking, are you stating here in your motion that the $50,000 is for the ball field improvement plan, and then subsequent to that, the Parks and Recreation Department will work with the foundation to identify additional dollars?
Well, I can tell you that I know Maggie responded and told me that, or in an email said that that would be a good amount of money to help analyze and determine, what exactly is needed.
Okay.
And the full purpose of it. Okay. And as far as where the money comes from, I suppose that's for debate there.
But the $50,000 Parks and Rec can spend, if we
Yes.
pass this, they can spend it to do
Yes.
that. They don't have to get
That's correct.
additional dollars from someplace else.
That's correct.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. I just wanted to make
Okay.
certain I understood that. And Mr. Shob, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Dude. My questioning was along the same lines. I struggle a little bit with we as a council trying to micromanage departments. And I appreciate the $50,000 as a plan, but then if we put additional conditions on it, it's kind of like handicapping director. I think the plan is where we need to go.
Right.
And would it be possible if I asked the director some questions about this? Is that inappropriate?
It is not inappropriate.
Madam Director, would you?
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much. The
Yep.
whole announcement, who you are stuff. Do you need to do
I'm Maggie Stuckey-Ross with Parks and Recreation.
that? How are you?
Hi.
So I think we've heard from the public over the last few weeks that this is an issue that they have concerns about. And I know we, as the city and in Parks and Rec, have a long-range plan to address some of these issues. But some money to develop a stronger plan, would that be helpful to you?
Absolutely, it would be helpful. And we appreciate just the opportunity to have a conversation about what is our current situation, what are the expectations of the public, how can we set expectations that both the city and the community are on board with, and potentially, I think it looks like, move forward with improvements or alterations to the facilities that exist today, potentially additional facilities. We want to talk about all of that.
So I have a small concern, and it's a really small concern, is Councilman Duden, I think, is well-intentioned when he says, here's some ideas you should use this money for. Do those type of conditions constrain or help you? Have you put any thought into that?
The way that this amendment is drafted, we are very comfortable with. The planning and the assessment, that's the direction our team would like to go. I don't believe we would need all of that funding to do that planning, which means we'll have some money to jumpstart some improvements potentially as this plan is completed. So I feel really comfortable with that. I think the scale and the scope will determine if the Parks Foundation steps in to assist. I do think this is a bigger conversation we need to have about what do we need to do and how do we prioritize that against our other needs. So again, planning, assessment, this makes a lot of sense to me to set that path. Does that answer your question?
I heard you say you're comfortable with the
I'm
way it's
comfortable
worded.
with it. Yep.
That was, yeah, that made me feel a
I
little
said
bit
too
more
much.
comfortable.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Director.
All right. Any other questions for the director?
Thank you.
Then
Okay.
let's proceed to the motion. Mr. Duden.
I make a motion to designate $50,000 funding from the 24-25 CIP project, park acquisition, demolition, development projects to support the development and implementation of a ball field improvement plan and to work with Parks and Rec Foundation to identify a grant, donation, or corporate sponsorship to match the amount designated in the Parks Recreation CIP project. This plan would efficiently and effectively direct additional funding for ball field improvements.
I'll second.
All right. Second, Carlson. If there is no other discussion, we will vote.
Councilman
Ready to
Carlson.
lean in on the vote.
Yes.
Duden.
Yes.
Job.
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
All right. As I said earlier, this is just the first opportunity for tentative budget changes. The next opportunity for tentative budget changes they are due to the council budget office by Friday, August the 12th at 3 o'clock, after which we will meet to discuss and vote on those. And just for the public's sake, the budget hearing for the public is on Monday, August 5th. It begins at 3 o'clock, and we wait to hear what you have to say. Thank
That's
you very
correct.
much.
Thank you
And
very
with
much.
that, I will call this meeting adjourned.